Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, welcome to newcomers if you're new. Today we will be looking at another aspect of building up an Aikido class. We've done already some videos, so we continue this series on this topic. And this time we want to look at kids classes, and when I say kids, I mean the youngest group that we have here in our dojo, which is like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, more or less. There are some specific things to be considered when working with this kind of small kids, so we'll talk about it today. Stay tuned, stay with us for a couple of minutes, and let's have a look.
Okay, so how to build up a class for kids. The main name of the game here is fun and play. So everything that we do, maybe even techniques, needs to work in maybe a little bit of an aspect of fun or play, something that seems interesting. Kids have different needs than adults. Adults can spend a lot more time focusing on like something monotonous, like a technique, going through the movement several times, but kids need to do it in a different way. So let's take, for example, starting with the warm-up. When you start with the warm-up, this is really good for body coordination, and especially small kids like 6-year-olds need a lot of work on body coordination. They're still getting into their bodies. Every child is different, but most children at a very young age, they're still, kind of working on developing their skills, motor skills, different things like that. So working on anything that requires building up the body, muscles, flexibility, even things like balance, just doing a certain balance exercise, and just kind of mixing it up a little bit so that it stays interesting for kids. So if you stay on anything for too long, they'll start to lose interest, especially the younger kids. They need a few minutes of something, and then you'll need to slowly change it. That doesn't mean that you need to change things every second, because then it becomes too stimulated. But you need to have moments where there's a bit more excitement, and then moments where it can calm down. So begin with a warm-up that's interactive with the kids. I do something like copy sensei, where I do a couple of different movements, stretches, maybe even some push-ups or like certain types of rolls, things like that. And the kids have to copy what I'm doing, and they have to try to stay with me, right? So that would be an interesting idea for the beginning. You could start also with maybe a game that would work on certain skills, as long as everybody in the class already has those skills in a way. So something like roll tag, something like that. During the class then, we would want to move into going into roles, practicing roles and things like that. I do this in different ways in each class. Sometimes I'll line them up and they'll just do kind of standard roles, and I'll go and help them. And so we go to and just do line up and roll down the mat, roll down the mat, roll down the mat. But that can be a little bit boring for kids. Sometimes I'll pull out a sword or a jo, and they have to roll over it. And this is really good to help them start to get rolls from standing, where they have to feel like they need to get over and have some height. You can also play rolling games. Like I said, roll tag will help them practice their rolls and get into the mood without really knowing that they're practicing it. So things like that in the beginning. Even maybe tag with shiko, for example, walking on the knees would be interesting. After that, you want to move into actually some sort of technical work. And what you can do is take a technique and put a story to it, for example. Sometimes I'll do this, so that if I'm doing katate dori and I'm doing a particular technique, I'll throw in something like, well, I'm going to open the door and ring the doorbell, and then the person's going to walk in, and I guide them to where they can go and take a roll or go and sit down. So I add a little bit of a story to it, so that it starts to, it catches their imagination a little bit. And then when we practice it, then we go through the story together and practice that together. In the end, you also can do different types of exercises that will help enhance the different techniques. So if you're doing shomanuchi techniques, then play a little game with shomanuchi, where you have two people in front of each other, shomanuchi, and they're simply just going to try and touch each other without being touched by the other one. Okay, so what that means is they have to use their own hand to kind of keep their center protected, and they have to still be flexible enough to adjust and also still try to touch the other one. So this would be, again, another game to introduce a certain type of skill, a certain type of connection. Okay? You can do games with movements like two-step, right? So Irimi. So you can do games where you introduce a lot of different movements, maybe 2 or 3 different movements, tenkan, and then you name the movement, and then they have to do it. So you can work on particular skills of techniques, particular movements, and build up those skills. Okay? So that would be a way to take apart techniques and to work on just a simple aspect of it. And usually we end with some sort of release of energy, whether it's maybe jiwaza, and we put on some good music, and the kids can kind of dance a little bit, and they can move around, and as people attack them, they can guide them around freely and get a chance to just sort of express themselves. Children need a lot of time to be able to express themselves and to let go. So in the end, either doing some jiwaza or, like I said, doing another type of game where they can really run around and release some of that energy, and then bringing it back down to a calm moment. At the end, usually we try to come together sitting so that everything kind of calms down in the end. Okay? And sometimes we'll play a game with this where I ring the bell and I see how quickly they can all become very quiet and still. And I start to count the time, and each time that they get better, I let them know that, okay, this time it was better. So there are little games that you can play even to help calm them down. If you have an interest in certain games for kids, especially Aikido games for kids, stay tuned. We will probably add more videos, new videos, with types of games that you can play with your kids. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.